Hello, listeners. Hi, my name is Madhavi, and I'm so happy to have you on Upptalk. You have come to the right place if you want to learn about IT and do really cool things with your hands. We are not just another IT company when I say Upptalk. Think of us as your learning partner dedicated to helping you reach your full potential. We have top notch hands on courses to help you build your business, whether you are new to technology or want to move up in your current job. Let's look around this as our first step towards learning.
Database Architecture. And in MDM, we do match and merge according to our values, which are coming in as fuzzy. Basically, fuzzy match merge is what MDM is known for. Exact match, you can go ahead and do it in a regular table as well. But as it's there, people go ahead and state that. Then there is centralized, which means only MDM is allowed to do CRD operations. Your source system will stop creating new records, stop updating those records. In registry, only the IDs will be stored in MDM. There is no point of putting the cost of MDM for going for registry. When this coexistence is there, then we do these kind of trust coding. But if we are doing centralized, then we always use this. Are we good over here? Perfect. Now you got to know that how my this gets created. First, this data was being created with a raw ID object of 12. What will happen over here and over here? Over here, this raw ID object was 12 earlier. This was all the way 4. Once the match and merge happened, this got converted to 4. Over here, there won't be any data with a raw ID object of 4. It will be again, it will go ahead and create, and the raw ID object will become 4 for this. And over here also there will be a creation of 4. And this data in till point 3 that was there. In 10.4, I think this data is getting deleted because they are stating that this going ahead and creating confusion for multiple people. That when they are trying to get all the data which is getting updated in base object due to the removal of the record from over here, the record is getting deleted from MDM. Basically, this is what you will be seeing. I'm not 100% sure now. We have to check this thing out because they were informatic of stating this when they released that in 10.4 that they have updated some functionality for history table for the hub. When the data is getting merged, they might have updated this part. that when you go ahead and take the values from over here, all this data is row ID extended. And over here, all the data is row ID object. And in history table, there would be its own primary key, which is row ID history. Over here, it would be row ID X. This is a row ID object. How exactly that is generated? Is it the row ID of the record in that table? Yes, it's the row ID object of this one. In which table? History is the base object. Now, initially, this record will be created in BO. This row ID object will be the row ID of the record in BO. I mean initially, when it is created. Then it will be populated to remaining tables xref_boht. Row ID xref would be the row ID of the record in xref table. Row ID xref, this one is having. This is having. This is the primary key. This is primary key. This is primary key. This is foreign key and this is primary key. This is foreign key. This is primary key. This row ID object is the row ID from in database terms only, not something which is generated by MDM. This is from MDM which is getting generated. It's a primary key which is getting generated. It's not primary key. It's not primary key which is coming from the source. And not the row ID of the record in the table in database terms. That is the row ID object, something which is generated. Over here, when I am stating this, row ID object is internally generated by MDM. Row ID xref is generated by MDM. Row ID history is generated by MDM. Row ID xref is generated by MDM. The part which we are stating is primary key, which is coming from source. That they are unique. How they are trying to state the record is unique. They are trying to ask that particular question. Suppose if I am getting a record for a party from 4 different sources, then this key should be same across all the 4 sources. It's not necessarily my different day. We have to define it in your registry ID. Plus latest date. As they are maintaining the data in SARI2 format. That was this case. What do you need? In this one, they were maintaining in a different way. Registry ID was there. But that registry ID was getting created multiple times with some other ID. Let's say product ID. They were creating with only with registry ID. They were creating with something else. And registry ID, they were creating duplicate. That was these 4 things are there. I can take the registry ID from this one and this one as when I'm trying to take the data out. But can I take this thing in a different way? No, I cannot. All these primary keys which are coming from source. We have another column in cross-reference named as key source object, which can be exactly same from multiple source. But still, our cross-reference always works on key source object, source system. Why this is going on? This is your canary key cross-reference, which helps your data to get loaded because this might be something which we will No is just asking. This P source object, this will be something which is defined or kind of a combined, which adds to something should be common in all the four sources. It does not matter it's common. It doesn't matter. It can be same. It can be different. It can be any value. It can. But if it is different, then MDM does your match and merge according to what rule set we are defining, which doesn't care about primary key. Primary key source object is only utilized for loading the data. When we load the data, if my primary key is same from two different source systems, then do you think that if my B source system is sending the data, it will go ahead and update the C source system's record in the cross-reference? No, it will go ahead. If it is not present, then it will create it. If not, then it will update its own system value. Primary key source object. When we do a load, this is our regular row. Regular row, which means it will consider primary key plus source system to update or to create. The internally, it goes ahead and creates an absurd query. If it is present, then go ahead and update. If not, then create. And match and merge is nowhere you can say linked. Currently, what we talked about there is nowhere it is linked. That unless and until we have primary key source, object exact, it will go ahead and match. Match and merge only happens in what we define. Take this attribute, take that attribute, take that attribute, take the child attribute from this particular table and all those things. And use a fuzzy logic or exact logic, what will be our threshold, and on and on. Your regular will use your primary key and your source system. And there is another load which is called as load by row ID. Load by row ID is only utilized for update. It is not utilized for insert. It utilizes row ID object also given in the record. Now, what does that mean? If you have already created that record and you know which record you need to update, even it is coming from a different source system. Then let's say my system 0 was there. Let's say sales was my source system. B, C, D are my other source system. If there is any record which will be coming from B, C or D, I have to use a regular load. Because there is no record which is created for any of these attributes, any of these sources. It might give you an error stating no row ID object found. But if you have to insert the data with a load by row ID, you will put blank in the primary key source that it will go ahead and generate itself. And it will create that with your system. Normally, we don't do that. That's why I didn't recommend it or didn't even state it. Load by row ID is only utilized for updates, where you go ahead and sends the row ID object as well and sends the data in for that particular source system. If that row ID is there and the source system is there, it will go ahead and update that particular record. It will check row ID and also it will check source system. If my source system is there with that particular row ID object or not. If it is there, it will go ahead and directly create or merge the record over here, and it will update your base object accordingly. In this case, in the extra table for PK, I mean row ID, except the primary key will be different. As you said, like for sys it is different and sales it is different, but it might be the same record. It is the same record because we are seeing row ID object as well. Because from these two records, my one record is getting created. But if I state over here as 5, let's say 15, and if I say B with 1 and 2, my this 5 record should also be present over here. Any row ID objects which are same in the cross reference. That means all those records are clubbed into a single record and all those records are duplicate, even though few data might be changed. This is there. This is a little bit of data from one particular source system. The data is written as like this. It's a wall screen drug. Basically, it's a product and a person as well. You can see wall screen and the data. If I do a fuzzy match, then all this data will be having 1, 2, 3 as row ID cross step, but row ID object will be like this. You can see the data is different. This is my cross-reference record. The row ID object is one for all three, but all three records are considered to one single record. Basically, I think all these three records would be contributing to one single golden record. In my base object, this record might be the one which is coming as correct record. This record is my base object. This is my base object for that particular record. Or this would be coming from this. And these all over here is sales. I can put it any other sources. Like this, these 4-person names are differently spelled. Over here. Ingrid is one person, but it's called as Ingrid Smith, Ingrid Ann Smith, and Ingrida Smith. These are one single person. George Harriman is same record, but it's B. Harriman and Bernard Harriman. These two will go ahead and merge together because they might go ahead and create a threshold of 95 and above. Once these two are created, this might go ahead and state as manual merge. Are these two people same? Because there might be two different people. This is Bernard Harriman and this one. This person is directly just the Harriman. This will contain a consolidation indicator of 9. But these two will go ahead and convert into from 4 to 2. Then once the people will be going ahead and checking this person and this person is same, then they'll go ahead and merge, else it won't. The other factor comes in with address. If all these three people will have the same address, that means they are same person only. In single home, they won't be two person with the same name. Correct. That's where our consolidation indicator comes into play. Understood. Any other questions for this one? This is all merely a concept that this is how MDMM will work every single time. Doesn't matter if it's something else you are working on in some other domain you are working on. If it is Informatica MDM, this is how it will work. In ideal scenario, this is how it should work. I would say this must work in this particular way. If it is not happening like this, then there is something wrong with the data or the configuration. You understood for update without workflow and statement. What happens if my pending is coming in? This is a complex one. Make sure you understand it correctly. Now, when we say update with the pending, which means a workflow is there. Now what happens in this particular case? If my source system, internal source system, because when we say workflow, it always comes back to internal source system. if my internal source system record is present, then what happens is it will go ahead and create a new record. Let's go ahead, copy this one. It goes ahead and creates a new record with whatever data is being updated. This will happen. Only last name was being updated to, let's say, this one. This will go ahead and create a new record with an upstream indicator of 0. Once the data is being approved, this will get updated over here. It will update your base object and this will get deleted. Accordingly, your new data will be created in history and cross-reference with last name updated. Question, or is it clear? When it will happen only in the case of workflow. Go ahead. I just wanted to confirm, like the rule number 30, that hub state would change to, I think, -1 or -9. No, it will be permanently removed. This would be something which is getting done. This is your workflow, which it has created a temporary record. It's a temporary record, in which case if internal source system already exists, if it does not exist, then it's a regular one. It will go ahead and basically we'll see that later on after this one. If this is existing, then it will create a temporary record. Once that is being approved, this will update over here. This will get deleted and accordingly this data will be updated. And as history and cross-reference history creates a new data, always they will go ahead and create new data. Since like that PQR last name record, it got updated. What will happen in the history and the history extract table? And will that hub state indicator we change for those? We will change the hub state indicator. That was in pending state, as I stated that if we are utilizing workflow, this particular section only happens if we are utilizing a workflow, not anything else. If we are utilizing a workflow, then this is something which will happen in backend. That it will create a temporary record if your internal source system already exists. Once it is approved, this will get removed and this will get updated. If that will get rejected, this will get removed and nothing will happen on any other table until it is pending. Even your cross-reference history will not create any new record for that temporary record. It will only update over here if this is getting updated. When I stated earlier on this particular date, that was create state. Now we are talking about update. Whenever there is an update, it only happens and with the workflow. Only record which will be created will be in scrap. And it can be both, like either temporary or it will always be. Temporary record will be created and based on that, the corresponding record will be updated. Let's say this particular record was not present. Now, this record was not present and we just updated. I'm just taking all the three. We just updated this part. This will be created at that point. We'll wait for the pending. This will be still this. These records will not be there. This would be your entire thing. These are not there. Only sales source system will be there and your history and cross-reference history will just contain these. Correct? Now what will happen if we go ahead and update this one to this value? It will create a new record. The hub state indicator 0 and it will see if there is a record which is there or not. If it is not there, then what will happen if it gets promoted? It will just turn this particular indicator to hub state indicator 1. And this will be updated and this will go over here. Even if your first name is required in your UI, as the record was already there. That's why only the value which is being updated will be sorted out or will be populated in the cross-reference table from internal source system. But in case if, like in this current scenario that you are explaining, this is 0, that admin internal 1 entry would remain in the X-ray. It won't it won't be there, correct? Because it was not there, correct? This source system data was not over here. Hence it got created and this will be created in all the areas. Got it. And this is the scenario where we are talking of like this system or admin source as the trust record. I mean trust code is highest. And because that is where it will go ahead and update the base object. Let's say your system 0 was not having the higher trust score than this. What will happen? This will be over here in your history. This data will not be created. In cross-reference, it will be created. That's what it means. Because it will get created but will not show up in base object. If it is not showing up in base object, that means the history was not there. There is no update in the base object. History won't be created for that. But cross-reference was updated. It is over here in the cross-reference. Clear is over. What happens in delete? If you have multiple, and if I go ahead and get the data which is being deleted from system 0. it will go ahead and do a -1 over here, and it will not change your data in base object. Your one more entry will be created over here with this as -1. But if there was a data which is getting deleted and there was no data over here, and if we are just deleting it, then it will go over here as well, as the data will be deleted from base object. The data will be deleted, will be created over here as a new because it was updated over there. And at every place, the same will be reflected. This will be the scenario for -1. That is why I mentioned two different things, that in cross-reference and history cross-reference. If we had multiple source system records, then it will be from one source system it will be 1 and from other it will be -1. But if we had only one record, at all the places it will be -1, and we are seeing this. All the places the record will get minus. What is meant by delete with 1? Delete with -1. No, there is no delete with 1. I'm just putting the hub state indicator. What will be the hub state indicator if there are two records? If there are two records in base object, it will be 1 in your history. It will be 1, but any of cross-reference, there will be a 1 and a -1. Because over here, there was a CRAM source also that was active. Over here, it would be 1 for CRAM source. Let's say the data was exactly same. This will not get updated. This will just update its last. We'll talk about that source system value as well. And the same data will be also there in history. And history. That will be the case. Cross-reference is having 1 and -1, both for that particular record. Your cross-reference history is also having 1 and -1 for both records. Your history is having 1 for that particular record. This one will not be there. This will be the state. If there are multiple records, then this will happen. But if there was only one record which was there, then what will happen? Every place it will be -1. If this was -1, this will be the case. Every place it will be updated as -1. Now, what is the difference between a delete and a purge? A soft deleted record or a deleted record can be recovered back. You can go ahead and make them active again. You can update the hub state indicator for these records as hub state indicator 1. If you have enabled the state management for those records, you can go ahead and recover those records again. But if you go ahead and purge, purge means delete from Xref. Delete from base object and create a new entry with -9. And over here also -9. That would be your case. And once the data is gone into -9, you cannot recover. Over here, recover means go ahead and update the hub state indicator and your data is directly into your UI with the same row ID object. If you and the recover other way, can you recover the data? You can recover the data from history and cross-reference history. But if you try to add data back again, then it would be a new record as per MDM. Because it will have a new row, ID object. Suppose if there were data from multiple sources in that Xref and if you are purging it. In HXRF, you'll be having all those records with hub state indicator -9. A purge happens from base object. A purge never happens from cross-reference. A purge always happens from base object. In his table, you have that. Obviously, in his table, you have the VR record with -9 and Xref. Say, if I have two records, there were two records for that recording. If you have even 10 records, why I'm stating it? Because if your base object is getting purged, base, whenever there is a purge happen, it takes the row ID object from base object and deletes all the data from over here. And it will update with -9 of this particular base object and it will go ahead and takes the data over here. And it will put all those cross-reference records as -9. It's not like inserting new records, whatever are there in the Xref for that particular. No, it will insert new records with a -9 because it's history. History is always a CD type. It will have basically the records of the Hopstead indicator one. It will get end dated and then they are basically the current records would be with -9 in the history tables. And like I said, go ahead. I mean, just to confirm, basically purge, as you said, it will get deleted from base object and then basically get removed based on the row ID object from the Xref. But in case of other operations, that is create, update and soft delete, it happens in Xref and then gets reflected in base object. Update always happens from Xref and then goes into base object. But when we talk about a batch which is getting loaded the data, when we say create always, it comes into base object first and these table cross-reference in a parallel way. And once the data is into them, then the history table will take the data from these and will create. These two almost work as parallel, but internally always the data goes into base object and creates into Xref. It's a microsecond difference, but it is a difference. Now all these things are clear about how it works. Now, if you have a cross-reference, having these kind of hub state indicator what your base object will be showcasing you. This is a chart for that, a table for that. If your cross-reference is containing one active one pending and one minus one, your base object will always show 1. Always the positive, maximum positive, unless there is a pending record. Only with a soft deleted. If there is only one record. If it is one record, whatever the hub state indicator would be over here, it will be reflected in base object. But if it is with 0 and minus 1, it will showcase you minus 1 because it is still pending. It has not been approved yet. It is not permanent yet. It will be always minus 1 and in only this sense. Otherwise, it will be always 1. If you have 1 in your cross reference, it will be always 1. Because your highest trust score doesn't matter at that time because that is deleted. For MD-man, that record values are gone. It would be like, let's say, a trust ABC. It will basically take from the next highest value. It will be accordingly like this. And over here with the data, which we just see, this is a condition before match and after match, how that will be going ahead for rawit xref and rawit object, which we just saw it over here. That how it got updated and all those things, that is the sheet format which I had explained earlier on for other people. This is what our hub state indicator is now coming back to consolidation indicator. 1 and 2 we are clear. 1, 2 and 4 we are clear. But there is one simple, or I would say a rare condition where both the consolidation indicators are 2 and the data becomes duplicate. This is very rare case once in a blue mood due to the data not getting updated in correct time or the data issue. This happens. How these consolidation indicators go ahead and make the rawit object or the record to survive in base object. It's basically simply for that. Are you going to get the consolidation indicators? What are consolidation indicators and what they showcase? Are you guys clear on those terms? Can you just once again tell the difference between the consolidation indicator and the hub state indicator? Consolidation indicator tells you if the record is matched and merged, new or didn't went in or basically updated, or it is waiting for merging or it is. In the manual merge, whereas hub state indicator tells you whether the record is permanent in a deleted form, pending form, or it has been merged. That's why I have this one single session for concept for hub state indicator and consolidation indicator, because I have seen even many people who have been working in NDM. They are not able to find out the issue if they are doing some support project or something. If there is any data issue, they are not able to find out very quickly. Because at the end of the day, it is all conceptual. How much your concepts are strong on these certain number of indicators to find out what is the issue. It's simple that if you are not seeing a data, there are users who are going ahead and stating that we are going ahead and updating the record, but we are not seeing the value which is getting updated in the base object or in the UI. What might be the issue? The trust score might be the issue that you are updating. First thing we will check is cross-references. The data getting updated in cross-reference. Yes, that means there is a trust score issue. Can we select the source or how? I mean, in the previous example you pointed out. I mean that table Hanalo 110 minus 1, then it will be 1. That minus 1 will be applicable for one particular source or say IDD or something. Whatever we are doing from front end, that will always go to that IDD entry. But if there is no source, which is there, let's say if there is no system 0, which was been there, and then you are trying to delete the record, that record will get deleted from the particular source which is being displayed. Can we see or can we select a particular source from this UI? To soft delete. First priority or the first preference, it will always go to this IDD entry or internal source entry. If it is not there, then it will delete the active record or resource. Correct. It will delete that record. I mean, whichever is the current active source or the winner source. I'm not sure if my terminologies are your terminologies. Correct. In consolidation indicator, if let's say record 1 and record 2. These are the two records. When there is 4 and 4 after merge, your consolidation indicator becomes 2 or 1 according to yes or no, which we selected. And who will win this particular battle? The record which is having either the maximum trust or the latest value. That particular record will win. As the row ID object, all the values will be still going for match and merge and updated accordingly. But the row ID object which will win will be either the highest trust score, or if we are not having the highest trust, then it will be the latest record which will be coming in. That row ID object will be seeing in base object if I say base object and cross-reference. If I have row ID object 4 and 5, over here also, and row ID object was let's say 12 and 13. If we have a trust score, highest trust score, if we go with trust score like this, then 4 will remain, 5 will get deleted, and this will be updated as 4. In this case, if it's which are, let's say 4 and 5 with consolidation indicator as 2 and 4, like this was then. In cross-reference, we don't have a consolidation indicator. Like this we have. What happens is your 5, which is 4, will get deleted and 2 will always survive. If the records are in 3 and 9, those records will not be utilized for match and merge for these merging conditions. This case only happens when there is a data issue and both the records went into match and merge. After an update, these two will never merge. 2 with 2 will never merge. 2 with 4 will merge, 4 and 4 will merge always, but 2 and 2 will never merge. This is a once in a blue moon data issue condition where you'll see duplicate data and not merging. What you will go ahead and do in this scenario, you will just go ahead, run update query for updating the consolidation indicator for these two. And then you'll go ahead and merge these two records, and afterwards either it will be 4 over here or it will be 5. You'll go into the backend, you'll run a simple query which is update XYZ table, whatever you have created. Set consolidation indicator where raw ID object is 4 and 5. And if you know which particular record you need to merge, only that particular raw ID object, you'll go ahead and state as consolidation indicator as 4. Other one will remain, as then you'll run and these two will get merged. Only in this condition, clear condition, when the status keywords will raise an issue that they are seeing duplicate data, then only you are responsible to run that query. Otherwise, everything is a process, automated process from Informatica. When you run match and merge job, this will automatically be saved. Or hub state indicator. Either it will be updated via batch, updated via workflow, or if you are not using state management or workflow both, then you will be in the easiest case scenario that always you'll be having a straight indicator one. You don't have to go ahead and do anything. Are we good on both the indicators? How these works? What are the values? All these things I just went ahead and create. That's why I don't use PPT or something, because I can go ahead and delete and showcase any way which you want. In documentation, at least few examples are explained. I don't think I have to check on those documentation if these things are being explained. If not, then what we can go ahead and do is whatever we have gone ahead and done, you can go ahead and screen them in multiple times. Or if I'll be having access of the video and I do some print screens from this, I can go ahead and grab snipping tool and I can put as what will happen in that. If you guys, that's why I stated if you want, we can snip out from the recording and we can create a new video for that it will have a process kind of a thing for you guys. Or you can have your this thing in a different way if you want. I can write it down for you guys that in a proper link. I was writing it down. The definitions and all in that. But this one, you can expect a little bit dealing in this because I have other comments as well. I'll give it to you in this week itself. It might take. I'll go ahead and create a scenario. I'll create a document for you guys for update what happens, for delete what happens in each table, for purge what happens in each table. All these sections, I'll go ahead and create it for you for each. I'll go ahead and put all these 4 tables and give a proper snippet over there. That's why it will take a little bit while. If that is fine, please do like, share and subscribe to our channel. For more information, contact us sales@therightuptalk.com.